In this video we're going to talk about a method called plurality with elimination. It's also called instant runoff voting. So in instant runoff voting or plurality with elimination, the winning candidate needs to have the majority of the first place votes to win. If there isn't a candidate that has the majority of the first place votes, we eliminate the candidate with the fewest first place votes and pass their votes down to the next available candidate on the ballot. Again, with this one, it's easiest to learn it when you see it being done. First, we'll take a look at the process. So we want to determine the total number of voters and the number of first place votes required for a majority. So we'll take the number of voters, divide by 2, and then you need more than half. So if it is an even number of voters, then we'll need to add 1 on. If it's an odd number, then we'll have to just round it up. Next, we want to make a table showing each candidate and the number of his or her first place votes. If a candidate has the majority of the first place votes, then that candidate is automatically declared the winner. If no candidate has a majority of the first place votes, then we proceed on to step 3. Step 3 is to eliminate the candidate or candidates if there is a tie with the fewest first place votes. So if there's a tie between 2, so let's say that the lowest number of first place votes was 3, and there are 2 candidates that have 3 first place votes, then you eliminate both of those candidates at the same time. And you pass them down to the next person on the individual ballots. So we're going to pass them down to the next eligible candidate on those ballots, cross out the names of the eliminated candidates from the preference schedule, and then recount the votes. If a candidate now has the majority of the first place votes, declare that candidate the winner. Otherwise, we continue the process, eliminating candidates as above. Again, this words of the process might not be super helpful, but when you see some examples, hopefully that will make things a little bit more clear. So in our first example, we're going to go to the MAS election and determine the winner using plurality with elimination. So here is the preference schedule. First, we need to calculate the total number of voters, and we've done this before. There are 37 voters. And how many votes are required for a majority? So now we want to take 37, divide it by 2. That gives us 18.5. And so we would need 19 votes for a majority. Next, we want to fill in the table. So I have a separate table for each time we go through this process. You don't need to do a separate table each time, and we'll see that in a future example. So we want to count the first place votes for each of our candidates. Candidate A had 14 first place votes. Candidate B has 4 first place votes. Candidate C has 11 first place votes, and candidate D has 8 first place votes. So the candidate with the least number of first place votes is candidate B. So that's the candidate that we want to eliminate, and we need to pass those 4 votes to the next available player on those ballots. So here are those ballots. And the next candidate down is candidate D. So we're going to pass those 4 votes to candidate D. So candidate D will get these 4 votes. And then we want to retally. So we're going to have A has 14 votes. B is now eliminated. And then candidate C has 11 first place votes. And candidate D has 8 plus 4, which is 12 first place votes. We still don't have a winner. We need to have 19 first place votes in order to have a winner. Candidate C is the one with the least first place votes. And so we're going to pass those 11 votes to the next available candidate on those ballots. So now, for this time, we have this one vote would get passed down to candidate D, and these 10 votes will get passed down to candidate B. Except for we've already eliminated candidate B, and so that means that we need to pass them down to D because candidate B is not available anymore. So all 11 votes will get passed to candidate D. So A has 14, candidate C has been eliminated, and candidate D has 12 plus 11, or 23 votes. And so candidate D wins. Here is another example. So this time we have 5 candidates. So we need to make our table. Well, first we're going to figure out how many total voters we have. So there are 10 plus 5 is 15. And then here's another 5. So that's 20. So there's 26 voters all together. And we need to divide that by 2, which gives us 13. So 14 votes is the majority. Now make our table. So we have candidate A, B, C, D, and E. Candidate A currently has 10 first place votes. Candidate B has 5. Candidate C has 3. Candidate D has 4. And candidate E has 4. So now we want to eliminate the candidate with the least number of first place votes. The candidate with the least number of first place votes is candidate C. So we're going to eliminate candidate C. And there are 2 sets of ballots where candidate C is getting the first place votes. So these 2 votes will get passed to candidate A. And this 1 vote will get passed down to candidate E. So now candidate A has 12 first place votes. Candidate B has 5 first place votes. We've eliminated candidate C. Candidate D has 4 first place votes, and E has 5 first place votes. So now eliminating the candidate with the least number of first place votes would be candidate D. And candidate D has 4 first place votes. We would try to pass those votes down to candidate C, but we've already eliminated C, so that means that we pass them to candidate A. So now candidate A has 16 first place votes, candidate B has 5 first place votes, and candidate E has 5 first place votes. So we have eliminated candidate C and D, and now we have a winner. A wins. If we had to proceed one more time, we would be eliminating both B and E, and we would pass those votes down to the next available player on those ballots. So what's wrong with the plurality with elimination method? And one thing that's wrong is that if you have to eliminate someone, but all of the candidates below that person have already been eliminated, then you end up with votes that aren't going to go to anybody. So here we just have it written out. Exhausted votes are votes that may not count if all the candidates below on the ballots have been eliminated already. So sometimes you end up throwing out votes with the plurality with elimination method. Another example, so we have a straw vote 2 days before the election. So a straw vote is just an interest poll to see where people are with their voting and get an idea of where the candidates are in the eyes of the voters. So first we want to figure out how many voters there were. So we have 7 plus 8 is 15, plus 10 is 25, and another 4 is 29 voters. So take 29, divide it by 2, and that gives us 14.5. So 15 is the majority. And we can see that we don't have a winner right off the bat. Candidate A has 11 first place votes. Candidate B has 8 first place votes. And candidate C has 10 first place votes. So the candidate with the fewest first place votes is candidate B. So they're the candidate that we're going to eliminate, and those 8 votes will get passed to C. So A will have 11 first place votes, B has been eliminated, and candidate C has 18 first place votes. So C wins. Then in a couple of days, the actual election occurred, and here's the preference schedule for that. And notice that there is one difference, and that's that a few voters have changed their minds. So notice that we had 10 ballots that had CAB as their ballot in the original election. And then now there are 14 that have CAB. So what happened is these 4 voters changed their mind and voted for candidate C instead. So they moved candidate C up on their ballot, moving candidate A down on their ballot. So remember, originally candidate C won. So let's see what happens when these 4 voters move candidate C up on their ballots. So we would assume that candidate C should still win, right? Because 4 extra voters are now in favor of candidate C, and they're only 1 away from the majority of the votes. But when we do this, A now has 7 first place votes, B only has 8, but candidate C has 14. So the candidate that we need to eliminate is candidate A, and we're going to pass those votes down to candidate B. And so candidate B will have 15 votes and candidate C has 14 votes, and so now B wins. So this is one of the major reasons why we have a bunch of different ways to count votes, is because when weird things like this happen, then they say maybe this isn't the best way to count votes, and so they come up with a new strategy for counting them. So this weird phenomenon is called the monotonicity criterion, and I'm just going to write out what this means, and then I'll come back on. Okay, so here is the definition written out. A candidate who would otherwise win the election should not lose the election because some voters changed their ballots in a manner that favors that candidate. So that was what we saw happen in this straw election, was that some of the voters after the straw election went, A probably doesn't have a chance to win at all, and so we're going to vote for our next favored candidate, which was candidate C, the original winner of the election, hoping that their second choice would win the election, which ended up causing candidate C to not win at all. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.